It's the night of the 30th of January 2024. You're welcome back. Garda Recruiting. I've just seen there in the news that the Gardaí are asking for the last few recruits to take up the offer of joining the force. Recruiting is closing soon, apparently. I don't know the date. And several of the great and the good have rowed in trying to persuade young men and women to join the Gardaí. And this is a very difficult decision for those young men and women. There was a time when it didn't really matter what went on in government. Government may have been corrupt without Charlie Haughey and a lot of these crowd, and some of them that are still in the Dáil, involved in setting up Digiphone and getting money and taking sides in government contracts and all of that. That went on, but people still joined the Gardaí, and 99.9% of their work had nothing to do with politics, at all. In fact, in many cases, a guard is only involved in politics where there's some minister coming or a Taoiseach and he's sent out just to protect the person while they're in the area. 2/3 of all Garda overtime, about 1993, was to guard the drivers of ministers, Garda ministerial drivers. The whole money went to driving around these ministers. They reduced that a bit since. Now, the thing is, it is quite obvious, and I'm a campaigner for it, that we have no control over migration in any part of the Western world, and that the Western world generally is in decline and on a destructive, self-inflicted, destructive phase. As I speak here, there's mayhem on the border of the United States and Mexico, and the police are powerless to do anything about it, and the courts have rowed in on the side of the migrants. We can take it that unless we can get a grip on the levers of politics and appoint special judges and remove the power of the judges to overrule the law of the country that exists such as it is on migration, we're fighting a losing battle. There is a move on all over Europe to reverse this green, woke, cultural and Marxist, globalist agenda. It's driven by Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, and it's driven by the likes of George Soros and his son and other people. It's hard to understand it. What we have to do is assess it. Is it real? And it is real, because up until 2004, a person coming into Ireland from outside the European Union went to a Garda station or had to declare within a certain time that they were here, and they had to be processed in conjunction with the Department of Justice, and there was a procedure to vet them to see if they were eligible to come in here. And even people who are citizens of the United States were often deported and not allowed to come into Ireland, and certainly several from other parts were deported. But there was no word out there to the people of Africa or Asia or anywhere else that Ireland was a freeloading country. That only came in the last 7 or 8 years, to such a degree now that our government, the likes of Roderick O'Gorman, Eamon Ryan, and all those, crave mass migration into this country. In the European Parliament, a while back, the Taoiseach, who was then the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, the Fianna Fáil leader, was told by the Swedish Foreign Minister that there's 500 million waiting to come in here from Africa into Europe, and Micheál Martin scuffed him and gave him a very dirty look, because Micheál Martin wants to fill the country with migrants as well. You go up to O'Connell Street in Dublin, you'd think you're in a foreign country. It's not our country. They haven't stolen it entirely from us, but they're hard at work at it. It's all on the paper today. 90 days now. Come in and stay 90 days and we'll make you a citizen. So you can see that this is wrong, of course. It's known to be wrong in Germany. In most of Europe, there's a vote against it. The president of Italy is against it. England, unfortunately, voted Brexit, And then Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives burned the whole thing. They were always only fake Conservatives. And Keir Starmer, the Labour man, is hoping to get leverage of power, and he'll continue this forever. So it would seem that there's no way the British can dump this off unless Nigel Farage and the Reform UK do something. It seems it can't be much done about it. But here in Ireland, we're not subject to that to the same degree, and there is public outcry against it, and the same in the United States. And great thing to see too is moves being made to return these migrants, send them back. I would like to tell migrants, if you come in here under this government, which is the enemy of the people, and you come in here and you get made a citizen in 90 days, I will not guarantee that you will be left here. That citizenship is fake. That's not a proper citizenship. A proper citizenship is somebody who comes in here, who has a job to do, like maybe a Filipino nurse or her husband or her family, who moves here and works here and is a care assistant or does something and is supportive of our constitution and the government, and then eventually looks to become a citizen. I certainly have no problem with that. But the numbers have to be kept in moderation. The numbers have to be kept in moderation. I also don't have a problem, and I'm at odds with some of my supporters in this. I don't see why Ukrainian men, Ukrainian people, should be forced to, sorry, a thing came up on my camera there, it's gone now, should be forced out. They're being pushed into the meat grinder to fight the Russians, and I don't think that's in order. Many of these men may have problems. I mean, it's not right to do that, and I wouldn't have the heart to do it. But any time they're left here, it should be made clear it's temporarily only, whereas the aim of the Irish government is to keep all here. You can imagine the pressure that will put on housing. Our young people won't be able to get a house, they won't be able to get married, and that's the aim of the Irish government, is to destroy the Irish diaspora, destroy the whole Irish way of life and replace it with their idyllic multicultural way of life. Now, where does that leave the policeman? It leaves the policeman that that you really have to think, do you want to be a policeman first of all? It is hard to join and to think that with Helen McEntee's hate speech, you could be arresting someone like me and placing me in prison. And thousands like me will have to go in as well. That is what our government is doing. What I'm appealing to is the good people who support Fine Gael to think again, no matter what the circumstances of any politician or what tragedies there were in his or her family or anything else, they'll have to please stop voting for them. We'll try and provide some kind of an alternative. I am also busy trying to explain that Sinn Féin is up to the same crack, and we're going to get very little relief there. We urgently await to see their manifesto, but I know what they're thinking. I know many of the people in high office, and they are going to continue this in a big way. I quote the quote from Declan Kearney in Belfast, the Sinn Féin prospective politician up there, and he says, I just love multiculturalism. I think this is so enriching. This is what we're going to have to put up with. And no vetting on these people, nothing to know if they've killed in their own country, if they've raped in their own country, if they've robbed in their own country, nothing. But we do need policemen. And maybe the day will come when we'll reverse this. Now, I am a bit extreme, I admit. I want the pensions of the politicians who have been proven to be corrupt to be cut drastically if we could get our grip on power. I want that. But in the government that I would recommend, we will still have some decent people coming in here. And there has always been a welcome for the Eastern Europeans and those who come here. And I have worked with them, built walls with them. I have no issue with them at all. I never had a black man a friend in Ireland, and it's not my fault. They don't like mixing. And when I asked them, I often went up to them and said, why are you not saying hello to me? You don't try to push your custom on me. That's what I get back. But funny enough, I had a habit of visiting New York a few years ago, and I had a black friend in New York, and we used to go boozing. We had great crack. See, you can't judge them all like that. And I'm sure there's some good coloured people and black people here as well, and they will mix in as well, but that's another issue. Now, of course, the government's dream is to have a Garda Síochána with no Irish at all foreigners, because they will arrest the likes of you and me, no problem. That's the dream. That's the dream. And that's how urgent this situation is. And in the United States, Biden is dearly loving and hoping for the day when the people who are coming across the border now will be police and custom officials in America. That is how severe this problem is. It has a trucker protest over there. Everyone recognizes there's something radically wrong with this whole thing. Now, if you're a policeman, and from Drew Harris, the Garda Commissioner's point of view, he's entitled to advocate for recruits, and that's honourable. That's the Commissioner's job, and he's entitled to point out some of the benefits that there are. Now, I have went to a lot of effort to show that while the appointment system is fair enough, everyone gets a fair crack of the whip, but once you get in and you start looking for promotion and advancement, it's rigged. So be aware it's rigged. Be aware that the Garda Síochána promotion system, maybe from guard to sergeant, isn't too bad, but from sergeant to inspector, it's impossible except for the chosen few, and those of a certain mindset. And it's not a very nice or pleasant mindset. There are some radical idiots in superintendent and inspector rank, and you could find yourself in a station where they will be over you and your boss. And there's chief superintendents who have done awful things. Now, I'm not talking so much about doing crimes. Most of them don't do crimes, to be honest with you. That's not the case. Very odd one. I made videos on that. There's no point going there. What I'm saying is that some people will join who have relations in high places in the guards and in government and in business and everything else, and they will get a clap on the back, and they'll be working alongside you, and they know if they keep their nose clean and do a little bit, they'll get promoted, and so that the effort they put into it, it will be rewarded. Whereas the ordinary old Joe goes in and he does the best he can and he studies a bit and he goes for promotion, he is pushed to the back of the queue. And it actually goes into a geographical situation. If you do join, there's certain divisions where there's more than the quantity of senior officers promoted per division, and there's others there's none. This was identified by the judge in the Donegal weapons planting case. Cavan Monaghan division, for example, never promotes enough of its own people. Donegal the same. They've never addressed this. So if you go to Donegal, you'll find that this Dublin inspectors and superintendents that are coming down, and you haven't a hope. This was identified already, and Drew Harris has not, as far as I know. He can ring me up and ask me, and I'll meet him or talk to him on the phone. I want to see the evidence, but I don't have time to examine that, and I haven't privy to what's going on. But this is a huge problem, the rigged promotion system, where if you have a father who is a chief superintendent and you keep your nose clean, you're going to be a chief superintendent too. And you can put a bigger effort into it. You can put a massive effort into showing that you're good at the job, and you're guaranteed the promotion reward. Whereas the ordinary Joe, it's hit and miss. So Drew Harris needs to amend his statement. When he says it's a rewarding career, he needs to say it's a rewarding career if you're from one of the privileged backgrounds in that career. Or if you happen to be a clerk in headquarters to someone like him, or someone in his office next door, or some commissioner next door, then of course you're seen every day and you're away in a hack as well. Could this be fixed? I don't know. Just be aware this is the circumstances. But however, if you join the Gardaí, now I know there's huge problems with housing in Dublin. I won't go there. I don't know how that's going to be handled. That's to do with this migration thing. But if you join anyway, you could have a happy enough time. You could enjoy it. go around in the patrol car and you could enjoy doing it and all that. And you can learn a bit of law and not take it too seriously. And if you don't get promoted, well, you could always buy a few houses, or some of them are very industrious as sidelines too. And maybe that's other ways of doing it. You never know who you'd meet and all that. So that's one thing about it. And you will have a pension at the end of it. But the problem is with the interviews, you'll be doing interviews if you join the Guards. And the problem is you can't interview them. Well, they'll sit up there and ask you questions. But you'll be out civil service there, and as I said before, I do love to say this about them, there'll be bellies on them like harvest frogs. And they'll be pontificating about the Ural Mountains or some weird place that no one ever heard tell of and trying to do you down. Really, the Garda recruit should be able to meet the people who are asking them to join and check out the few things I'm saying. If you do your part of the bargain as a guard, and most of those who join definitely will keep your part of the bargain, surely you're entitled to the reciprocated situation where the Gardaí and the government reciprocate by giving you fair play in all of the competitions. That's not too much to ask. If I wanted to employ, would say I had to go off somewhere and appoint a farm manager here if I wanted to do that, or somebody to work and run the farm here. They're entitled to ask me certain things, right? What do we have? Facilities. Will I get time off? Will you apply farm relief to give me time off? How are we going to work? Will you be here for certain operations? So I would say, yeah, I'll be here for operations on cattle, the various things that has to be done, like dehorning and all that sort of stuff. And I'll be here to help with dosing and help with things like that. And when the silage is made, I'll be here to help and make sure everything is smoothed out. And so I would have to have a kind of a two-way agreement with my farm hand or my new man or whoever he is. He just couldn't be expected to plant him into the farm and hump off and me go and you work it out for yourself. There'd have to be some support. Do you get what I mean? In the Guards, there's no agreement for support. I'm not saying they won't support you when you get in. You will be protected if you're on your own somewhere and you're attacked and the Guards around know you're being attacked, whether you're a male or female member. They will come. Don't you doubt it. They'll burst everywhere to get in. They'll not leave their own member stuck. They're very loyal that way. They realise it could be them the next day. And there is good camaraderie and all of that. And you will enjoy some of the crack. And don't go too hard on the booze at the various parties. Some stations that have a party for everything. Other stations that don't. You need to keep it in moderation. But having said that, we do need police. We do need police. Maybe you'd be better give it a go. I think that's my advice. Give it a go there. And I hope God spares me my health. And hopefully there'll be new political parties. There's a new Farmers Party. We have the Irish Freedom Party and we have the National Party. And among them all is the craving. And I have the craving for good government in Ireland. And if we have good government in Ireland, being a policeman in that government you would be a partner in society. You would be a partner with the decent people of all walks of life who would look up to you and who would want and clap you on the back and hope you do well and grieve a lot if you got injured or indeed if you happen to be killed on duty. The people would go back to the stage where they would grieve for a policeman who lost his life, and that can happen too. And there is the risk of losing your life, but it's not that big. It's not that big a risk, but it is a risk, and they are being attacked there and all of that. Be aware too that as far as I'm concerned, the judges are not up to the job. They're woke judges as well. We need to give them a good kick in the backside. Maybe we'll try and do that. I don't know. I can't say any of these things will happen. All I can do is put it out there. Now, you have to make a decision pretty soon. Go in anyway and see how it goes and take it from there. You can always leave it. But then if you have already a fairly good job and you're going to walk it up and give it away for this, look, it's one of those things in life. I hope I haven't done down too much the work of the Guard. And I hope I haven't linked it too much to our dysfunctional society, the corruption that the governments have traditionally visited on the unfortunate Guards. Many of the best Guards, really good sergeants. There was a sergeant one time in a big town in the East Coast who ran the whole place very efficiently, and they wouldn't give him promotion. And one of the things that needs to be done immediately in the Guards is get rid of this thing where a superintendent could write on a recruit, you could join now, and in 3 years' time, a superintendent could write on you to say you're not suitable for promotion. He doesn't consider you a suitable person. He could go then and he could take a heart attack and die. And this is the culture of the job. That rating, that rating stays there forever, and nobody will promote you once they see that. And you have no comeback. And if you make a complaint against a senior officer and deliver it into Garda headquarters, they will get back to you and tell you, go to the officer. They will not tackle anyone above the rank of superintendent and possibly inspector. And just before I go, folks, I hope I have given you a wee bit of a whistle tour. If we're alive, and the good people of Ireland will always be supportive of a decent, functional, tolerant, not too strict Garda Síochána that has confidence, okay? But the ranks in the Gardaí starts off with sergeant. Sorry, God, it's late at night. It starts off with Garda. It then rises to sergeant. The next is an inspector. He's a non-commissioned officer. He can wear a sunburn belt. Next is a superintendent. Next is the chief superintendent. And next is the commissioner ranks. There's assistant commissioners. There's something like 9 of them. There should be only 3. There's about 6 of them which are dead meat. There's a deputy commissioner and there's commissioner. So we count them down again. Commissioner, deputy commissioner, assistant commissioner, chief superintendent, superintendent, inspector, sergeant and guard. So I make that 8 ranks. Now have you that clear so you know what the ranking structure is? Guard, sergeant, inspector, superintendent, chief superintendent, assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner and the commissioner, which currently is Drew Harris. Now, that's the story, folks. They have all kinds of GSOCs and complaints procedures and the different knows what. I don't know even where it goes. What I do know is I believe they're not investigating anything other than serious crime at the moment. I think it's terrible that if somebody has their house broken into, it's not investigated. I haven't proof of this, but I have a good deal of evidence that this is the case. And investigating crime is rewarding, but it's not easy. You have to mix it with the criminal classes. You would be mixing with all the roughs and the toughs. If it only was that everyone has to mix with the roughs and the toughs to get on in life and get on in the job, it would be great. And hopefully the day will come when the rigging of the promotion system in the Garda Síochána will be gone. And I finish by saying the recruiting system is not rigged. N-O-T. If they won't allow you in, they need to give you reasons and you can come back again. Now, there may be things, there may be health and all that, there is that to it. And you can grow a beard now. You couldn't grow a beard long ago. So with that in mind, folks, I'll let you go. I hope I've given a wee bit of help to the prospective recruit. We do need guards. If we don't have guards, what are we going to do? Am I going to go out and have to patrol the streets at night? And, when I want to be running my farm, we don't want that type of police, and we want to leave it to the people, the professionals who understand the law and all of that. Hopefully that's the best way. So good luck if you decide to go for it. If you don't, that's fair enough too. Everyone probably likes to have some kind of a job, and there are other jobs as well. There's teaching, secondary school teaching, they're scarce, and everything else. And this all boils down to the simple problem that our government style that we have in Ireland does not attract people to work for it. Nobody wants to work for the like of Roderick O'Gorman, Eamon Ryan, Catherine Martin of the Greens, them idiots, them bloody idiots, and those other idiots that are trying to bring in hate speech laws and all of this. Nobody wants Micheál Martin or anybody else, but there's a core vote there, and they seem to be able to rig it, and we don't know what it'll be like if Sinn Féin gets in. There was a time when every Sinn Féin member was strictly monitored by the guards. They were considered an absolute threat to the state. They promoted the IRA violence. Now, there's a historical thing there. Don't turn off or don't reject me because I say this. But they have come out of that, and now they're democratic, and I accept that. I don't think any Sinn Féin candidate wants to go back to the old violence or killing people. I think that's gladly that bit of it's over. If only then they would go back to the tradition of being proper Irish people, like Wolfe Tone and the 1798 and all the great traditions and the Michael Collins and all them, but they won't do that. They're going to go woke. They're going to go woke, and woke will destroy the whole world eventually. Go for it is I tend to say. I'm procrastinating here. I would hate to think that I would talk somebody out of a career in which they might be happy. And if I live long enough, maybe I'd meet some who are now looking at this and say, you know what, I don't know what you said, and I don't think I regret it. That'd be the ideal thing. But nobody can really tell you what career you could follow. The other thing is that long ago, guards were made go away from where they were from. So if you're from Navan in County Meath, you wouldn't get into County Meath. They tended to water that down a bit, and it's a good idea indeed in many cases if you can get stationed near where you're from, but not too near. One of the big troubles with guards is they had to go way off. Maybe if you're from Sligo, you'd be stationed maybe in we'd say Longford Town, and then when you retire, you find yourself with no job and you're gone out of your own community. And I think that's a problem. That's something that needs to be looked at. It's a problem, and even the government should look about people who want to move back, who were put in a station, put in a place and built their house and all, and then find that it's very difficult to move out of there to some other place. I think a guard should be allowed to relocate somewhere, even if they're retired. It's just a bit of a problem. You wouldn't think that that's a problem. So my advice is, if you do join it, get somewhere local and near you as you can, but not just exactly where you are. You don't want to be stopping people on the street whom you know. So be a bit away, be 20 miles away anyway. So now I think I've wound that up. I think I've done the very best I can. Not easy for me to do this, and not easy for me to give good advice, except to say that I am an Irishman through and through. I support the state of the Republic of Ireland. This is my country. I own this country in partnership with the other citizens. I want good law and order. I want control of migration. I want no green baloney. I want proper environmental policies. I want the SEA directive of the EU enforced in my country. They won't do it. There's no assessment of all the junk they're putting in the country. And I want good law and order where if you're burgled, the guards come out and investigate it. So therefore, in that regard, I am a sort of proud of the Navy service, provided they're not in the Mediterranean doing damage. I'm sort of proud of the Irish Army, with all its faults and its uniform, and I'm sort of proud of the Garda Síochána, the police force. We need them. So for me to reject the services of the state in this terrible times we're in would not be fair to those services or to my country. Hopefully, folks, hopefully we'll get rid of this scourge of globalist, cultural, Marxist multiculturalism and get it out of our country. And that can only be done by persuading our fellow people, you've got to stop voting for the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Labour, and just see what Sinn Féin is like. You have to stop that. These people can't be fixed. Cannot be fixed. So the best of luck to you if you decide to join, and hopefully it'll all be good. Thank you very much. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down and comment underneath. Bye.